Assalamualaikum viewers, this is your host Aijaz Qureshi all the way from Toronto, Canada with today's brand new episode of the Aijaz Qureshi Show. I welcome you all from anywhere in the world you are. Today we are going to talk about the capacity and emergency preparedness. This is very important. Most of the time we forget about emergencies and calamities that are going to happen and we don't foresee them, but they are there and they come to haunt us. And at that time, there is no time to prepare ourselves. Very, very important topic and near and dear to my heart, because in my career, I have been a great advocate of emergencies and how do we prepare for them in personal life as well as in my professional life. I worked as an IT expert, and I used to make companies prepare for themselves if calamity happens, if the data center is completely gone, how do they recover their business? For this great topic, we have invited our esteemed guest today, none other than Mr. Rashid Khan. Rashid Khan himself is from Melbourne, Australia, and he is the founder and CEO of Evacovation. Evacovation is the company that makes you prepare for the emergencies. He has been rewarded as top 100 Australian professional in 2020 this year. So great person, mashallah. Let's welcome our esteemed guest, Mr. Rashid Khan. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, Aijaz. Thank you so much for having me in your show.
Thank you so much for taking time and hop on the show and giving us the awareness about emergencies and its preparedness. Most of the time, that's the part that we neglect, and we'll talk about this in detail when we get started with the topic. But once again, thank you so much for hopping on the show. Friends, please do share this show with your friends so that they can be also aware of how to prepare for certain emergencies. And we're going to talk about those in the show. Before we head to the topic, Mr. Rashid Khan, I would like to take you to your childhood when you were 4 or 5 years old or even younger. What is the earliest childhood memory that you recall?
There is quite a few memories I usually recall. One of them actually sticks out and that was 1988. I still remember that day as well. It's 10th April 1988.
Wow.
That was the day when I belong to Rawalpindi, Pakistan as well. So there was a small incident. It wasn't a small incident at the time, but there was a ammunition. Ojri camp, yes, exactly.
Yeah,
so Ojri camp happened on that day, and it was a very sad incident. And I was very young. I was probably 9 years old at the time, and it was a Sunday, I remember, and I wasn't feeling well, so I took a day off as a sick leave on that day. Because it used to be, if people remember, maybe you and me from the generation when it used to be a Friday public holiday in Pakistan, and Sunday used to be a normal day.
True.
normal working day. So what happened in that day? Um, Started. It was around 9:30, 10 o'clock when it started to happen.
Mm.
And being very young, I actually started going to. There's few schools around where we used to live. So I went to that school, and when they gave straight away, when they found out there is something happening like that, they declared the holiday for the day, and the kids were everywhere. They were going home, and there were some kids were very very young, didn't know where to go, and I was guiding them towards their homes. Like I was
Wow.
myself was only 9, not even
Wow.
9 at the time, and I was guiding them towards their home. That was my
Mm.
first experience of saving someone or taking someone to a safe place. And I think that memory is still alive to me. As it occurred. So I still remember the day. I still remember
Wow.
everything about that sad incident. And unfortunately, there was a lot of people died, and a lot of people got injured. Um, but that memory just sticks in my,
I know. I know.
you can
I know.
say,
Some of the
in my
memories
mind, like
are
a
there
yeah.
for life, and they're as fresh as they
Mm.
happened just now. So yeah, I can understand. It was a big incident, and I'm glad that you were able to help at that young age. You were able to help other kids to get to their home and safe place. Thank you so much for doing that. That's wonderful.
Mm.
So, what about your education? Where did you get your education? You said you're from Rawalpindi, so your initial education comes from Rawalpindi. Is that right?
Yes, it does. So I studied uh, from a government school, and that uh, a lot of people know about that if you are from that a region or area. So I studied from government Muslim higher secondary school number one.
Mm.
I did my matriculation at the time from there, and then I went to Asgamar College. I studied there for 4 years.
Mm.
I did my bachelor's in double math physics
Wow.
in 1999 from the
Yes.
University of the Punjab, and in the
Awesome.
meantime, I did a diploma of computer sciences as well.
Wow.
So that's got me into computer sciences. And I did master in computer sciences from NEET at the time, National Institute of Information Technology, in
Uh-huh.
2001.
Wow.
And then I keep on working in the databases because I did OCP in 1999 as well, which was Oracle Certified Professional.
Yes.
Quite a high degree at the time. It still is. Oracle Certified Professional is
It
one of
is
the
still is.
best
Yes, no doubt.
database professionals in the field today. Yeah.
Wow.
So I
Wow.
did it in 1999, and I had a job in databases straight away. And
Wow.
I worked till 2004, because in 2004 I started preparing for Public Service Commission. So in 2004 I attempted Public Service Commission and I passed in 2005. And here I had, I applied for Australian residence in 2002, in the start of at the end of the 2002 2003, and I got it in 2005. So here I had, the Public Service Commission on one hand, and Australian residents on the other hand. My father
Mm.
was asking me the question, "What do you want to do?
Yes.
Do you wanna, stay, or do you wanna go? What you wanna do?" And then I
So you
decided
eventually
to
decided to
come to
go.
Australia.
Good. Very good. Very
That's a
good.
quick me coming to Australia.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
Oracle is very near and dear to my heart, and I was one of the few early adopters of Oracle back in late 80s, 85, 86. Oracle One. I still remember it used to come on 3.5 inch floppies or 5.25 inch floppies, and they were like
The big one,
hoarding
the,
those
the
floppies to install. And yeah, and I still remember those PL SQL trigger writing and post and pre and all those. It was fun. And using Oracle One, I wrote the whole financial accounting system, inventory control system, and general ledger and all those kind of things. It was fun to do that. it was amazing. Great. So we share some common grounds here. Thank you so much for sharing. We have a few comments here. Rajesh Gore is with us. He is film journalist, our friend, dear friend and brother from Bollywood, Mumbai. He's saying, Aijaz Qureshi Ji, Salam Namaste. Thank you so much, sir. Walaikum Assalam. And saying, Rashid Ji Salam. Thank you so much. So nice of you. Sunil Gore Saab is his elder brother, and he's also a film journalist and author. Saying Salam Aijaz Saab and Rashid Saab. Thank you so much. Walaikum Salam. From Rajesh Gaur and Sunil Gaur, Mumbai, thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. The worst part is we never know the problem we are undergoing will lead to an emergency. Absolutely. Absolutely. Eventually that happens. Great. So let's talk about the need of the emergency preparedness and why actually do we need it? Because that's really important for people to know. Most of the time, what happens that we don't really foresee or even think about that anything wrong can happen, um, be it physically, be it financially, be it job-wise, be it society-wise, or things like that. So, where do you want to start today's topic, Rashid Saab?
Maybe I will go to a little more background of how I eventually fall into this beautiful work or domain of work, I would say.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
Usually a lot of a lot of people understand emergency as it's a firefighting thing, or it's then flood and relief and sort of emergency help. When people understand it as a post emergency part of, but there's a lot of pre-emergency part to what happens in emergency services. There's a lot more to that. So we'll talk a little bit about that pre-emergency or preparedness, you can say, or plan on what happens when an emergency occurs. So I joined National Australia Bank in 2006 when I came to Australia. So I was in IT database, as I was supposed to be. In 2011, I had an opportunity from there to work in auditing and consulting within the National Australia Bank, and I joined emergency management side of the National Australia Bank. Where in 2012, I was made the emergency manager for National Australia Bank. So where I was looking after 37,000 staff of national. Our bank is one of the top 50 bank in the world. So I was looking after 37,000 staff in all across Australia, so all across big buildings and branches and business centers and financial service centers. So everything was under my kind of area. So I was looking after all the staff. That's where I started to learn emergency management, and it was quite a unique, I would say, domain for me as well. And I was keen learner. And I was got connected with a lot of people from emergency management. So a lot of people from the fire services, a lot of people from the consulting companies where write emergency management plans and for the companies and for the buildings. So that's how I got into it. But when I started studying it more, as of I'm a quite a learner, so I started studying a lot more in detail. I found out that there is a lot of gaps which needs to be figured out and fixed. So at an organization level, you can fix. There is a limit to what you can fix.
True.
Obviously, any organization has got its own limitation within the emergency management domain. So you can do things and you can fix things up to an organization level, but there's always a limit to it. And obviously there's few things which comes not under their domain, they come under the landlords, or because there's two parts of, when we're talking about the buildings, there's two parts of it. One is from the tenant side, one is from the landlord side. So the landlords, obviously they have their own responsibility, the tenants have their own responsibility to look after the building and look after their passages. But then there's a big portion comes from the landlord sides, where they have to look after, they have to make sure that the building is compliant. The building has got the proper passages, the fire exits and
Exits and
all the
everything.
building
Yes.
lightings have
Ramps
been
and everything.
maintained
Yep.
and the oxygen level. Yeah. So I started studying a lot more about that one too, because there was few, queries started coming up and all that. By 2015, I become the official observer of our bank, and I was official observer till I left the bank in 2019. So I was observing a lot of drills and a lot of emergency drills, how emergency occur and their preparedness and their planning and all that. But in the meantime, I've become a police liaison officer. So because of my background, became a lot more investigations and out of the databases, because it's all about, when you talk about the banks, all about the numbers. A lot of people say, you guys are the number guys, right? So because of my number experience and database investigations, I went into the law enforcement part of the bank, and then I started working with different law enforcement. From there, the passion of saving lives was always there, and I already started working on a solution where it can fix the identified gaps, where we identified gaps in emergency management domain within the organization, at the organization level or at the industry level of uh, at least the financial sector.
Right.
But what happened in I was already awarded CEO's commendation award by 2016 of saving few lives here and there. I saved more than 100 missing people within Australia, and I was part of the missing person state crime commands, all of the state crime commands within Australia. So I worked with law enforcement very closely, and that gave me a broader understanding of how law enforcement works when an emergency occurs. So everything guides you towards your main purpose in life, and that's what I believe.
Absolutely.
Uh, in 2017, there was an incident occurred, if you could recall that one as well, at Burke Street, Melbourne, where a lone offender, he was driving a car and he drove the car on the pedestrians and he killed 6 people.
Yes.
And dozens were injured. So that was the first-hand incident which we saw, just not watched. We were actually, because it happened right outside where we used to work. I worked there for 13 years, and eventually happened exactly outside where we was.
Oh my goodness!
And at that time, that shocked, not shocked me, but when you're working on a solution and that solution could potentially save lives, that's when I still remember that day when I decided that I will not back. From now onward, I will not put my feet down. I have to move forward, no matter how small steps I'm taking in that direction. But I will keep on moving.
Yeah, that's great.
Because I knew that my solution on that day could have saved someone's life.
True.
That's a big thing. And when you make a solution and you know that your solution was workable on that day and could have potentially saved someone's life,
absolutely,
I think that is enough to move someone towards the actual purpose of someone's life. And from that moment onwards, I never stopped. I kept on working on my solution. I started to refine that. I did a lot of research in that particular domain. By 2019, I was able to found my minimum viable product. And in 2019, I decided that I have to work now, a little more than just the job or the side job. So I launched Evacovation in 2019. And by 2020, I got the traction by the government agencies, which is the emergency services, and I pitched the deputy commissioners of emergency management Victoria on the Queensland Fire and Emergency Services. So I pitched my idea to them. Australia itself today sits at emergency preparedness ladder at number 4 in the world.
Wow.
The ideas I pitched through Evacovation, as Evacovation can do, from planning, prepare, learning, and implementation of technology, Australia will become the number 1 emergency prepared country in the world.
Wow.
That's just the impact on the country level we are making. And now where we are making the impact for the society, is a lot more deeper than, because awareness is the key. People need to be
Absolutely.
aware about the emergencies. So that
Absolutely.
is my journey, moving from from a database guy, from an Oracle guy, towards emergency management domain.
That's very nice. We have a few comments from friends. Let's take those. Sunil Gaur is saying from Mumbai, physical emergency is the worst and most shocking. Absolutely, it is. Thank you so much. Dr. Waid Arun is with us, our friend from Karachi, Pakistan, saying salam to all. Welcome, Mr. Khan. Thank you so much for welcome. A warm welcome. Thank you. Sadaqat Mubin is from Islamabad, our co-host and our great friend, saying Assalamu alaikum. Great to see you both, mashallah. Thank you so much for hopping on the show, Sadaqat Mubin, and thanks for the connection. Sadaqat Mubin is saying more power to you, Rashid Khan. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Said Rasool is our regular viewer, our friend, saying very great experience to learn by great guest. It's privilege to honor him. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Awesome. Great. So, as far as Pakistani families' thought process is concerned and their emergency preparedness, is actually women have more thoughts given to the emergency preparedness, especially when it comes to the financial emergency and things like that. So, women, I know lots of women who do save some money out of their expenses that they do on daily basis, and they keep aside a certain amount of money for the worst time. But that's all about the emergency preparedness. I don't see any physical efforts made towards the emergencies or calamities to happen. We don't prepare ourselves. So where should we be starting, and how can we categorize? Because there could be a financial emergency, there could be a health emergency, there could be a family emergency, there could be any other kind of emergencies. Where should a family be starting to prepare themselves against all these different kinds of or various kinds of emergencies?
I think the first thing within the emergency is to understand what emergency is. So a lot
Absolutely.
of people
How do we define
have a
emergency?
broader vision. Yeah, how there's a lot of people define emergency in a different way. But
Hmm.
for me, emergency is an incident which requires a very quick or robust response. So
Okay.
if any of that any part of your life which requires a very quick and immediate response to something,
Hmm.
that is an emergency. So
Okay.
now we define, what sort of emergencies can occur.
Right.
Morally saying, the financial emergency is one of them, but financial emergency obviously occurs on the basis of another bigger emergency. So financial emergency is an outcome of the emergency. It's not an
Absolutely.
emergency itself.
Yes.
So being aware of the emergency or the dangers which can happen in your life, it could be a
Hmm.
medical emergency. It could be, uh, an emergency which is external to
Yeah.
your powers, which
Job
are,
loss or something
an
like that.
earthquake can happen, a flood can happen, an
Flood
earthquake can
can
happen,
happen. Yeah. Yeah.
things which are beyond your control.
Hmm.
And there's things which are within your control, but they still are, um, uh, they are still a hazard, like fire emergencies, like electrical, sort of problems and all that. And
Hmm.
then there is another part which is very much evolving today, and it's a sad part of the society which is evolving today, is kind of personal threats. It's coming from the
Social.
domestic violence side of it.
Yeah. Social
uh,
emergencies.
Social emergencies, which is, it is actually coming from more of, the social arguments and all that, but
Yes.
putting that pressure on the relationship and all that, it can come to a domestic violence state as well, which it becomes a personal threat to someone. It could
True.
be another personal threat as well, like, people become the victim of personal threat by a lot of means and others. But when it happens in a very close vicinity of your social system, then it's very, very dangerous. That's where it's called domestic violence. The
True.
biggest killer nowadays,
Absolutely.
uh, and
Absolutely.
it's not a small number coming, like because there's
No,
more and more
you.
research going on in domestic violence. That number is quite huge. That's 1 in 6. We are talking. I'm giving you the numbers from Australia. 1 in 6 women, which is 16% and above. Oh, you can calculate that. The 1 in 6 women have been impacted by domestic violence.
Yeah.
In 1 year alone.
Wow.
That's a
Wow.
big number.
That's a big number.
That's a
Very
big number.
alarming. Yes.
So that personal threats, these personal threats are part of emergencies. These are all emergencies which can occur in our daily life. That's the first part, to understand what emergency is.
True.
Then we need to be aware of how you can plan for an emergency. And there's few things you can do which are within your domain, but few things will come as a shock, like an earthquake. You can prepare as much as you want for an earthquake,
Yeah.
but when it happens, you still are underprepared,
That's
because
right.
an earthquake might happen once in 10 year time, once in your lifetime, maybe. In some areas or some regions where the tectonic plates are not uh, that big problematic. Like Pakistan is sitting on the one of the major disaster line of those earthquakes, right? And that disaster will occur one day, once in a lifetime. We have seen 2005, the actual the Kashmir region,
Yes. Yeah.
and more towards the
It was very
KPK.
devastating. Yeah.
It was almost 100,000 people died instantly. That sort of devastation can only happen once in your lifetime. You can
Yeah.
only get to experience that sort of phenomenal emergency once in your
That's right.
lifetime. But then
True.
later you see the floods coming in as well. The floods, but flood has at least maybe 15-20 hours response, gives you that much of response planning time, or it gives you that much of buffer. But
Action
earthquakes
time.
don't
Yes.
give you the
Yeah.
buffer,
Yeah.
action time.
Earthquake doesn't give you
So that's what I'm
anything.
saying. Correct. So the best systems in the world today, like on earthquake, they still are just a minute. So if it's a tsunami, obviously the tsunami warnings get issued and all that. You still have the time to prepare. But in earthquake, you have less than a minute time to actually act, which
Yeah.
is not enough.
Exactly.
Because at that time the system itself is finding out how much bigger impact it's gonna cause and all that.
True.
And 1 minute's like 60 seconds just go away like in flash. You
True.
can't save that many people for an earthquake. But
True.
understanding emergency is the first part, and it's a major part of it. Once we understand what emergency is, then we need to be made ourselves aware about uh, that, how you can plan for an emergency response. That's the second biggest part, and that's a big challenge, because people, they don't have the safety mindset today. Like, they don't understand or take it very seriously. When you're giving a fire drill, you've been living in Canada for so long. When people are given a fire drill, people don't take it too seriously too.
They
But when
don't
an
take it
actual
serious. Yeah.
fire happens,
Yeah.
yeah. So
They are
having
still
that
trying to
safety
grab their
mindset is a
coffee
very, very,
mugs and everything, and their lunch bags and things like that, because they will be standing outside or at the safety point, and so they can eat their lunch and drink their coffee. I mean, come on, man,
yeah.
this is the real life practice that you're doing, and people are still worried about their coffee and their lunch boxes.
That's human behavior, and that's very natural. A lot of every human is like that. Like, even if you are talking about the first world country or the third world country or the second world, the
Everybody is
human
like that.
behavior is very identical.
True, true.
A lot of people are like, uh, there will be people within people who are a little more safety mindset. There'll
Yeah,
be people
yeah,
who be
yeah.
a
But
little
most of the
more
people are people, you
less
can't
scared.
really expect. Yeah,
Correct.
exactly. We have few comments. Let's take those comments. Thank you so much. I think I took this a great experience to learn, great guest. Thank you so much, Sayyid Rasul Sahab. He's saying Rashid Khan is really a proud Pakistani representing human beings on high level. Thank you so much, Sayyid Rasul Sahab. Really appreciate it. Sunil Gorsab is saying, how does one know that a particular situation can lead to an emergency? That's a good question.
Okay, that's a good question. When you say a particular situation to an emergency, which means you see someone is having a heart attack, what you can do
Certain
about it?
incidents, yeah.
That's an situation you are in, is because he talked about the situation. So when
True.
you see someone is having a heart attack, that's a situation being created right in front of you.
Hmm.
What you can do about it, there's parts of it. Like if you find a person around you who got the first aid, who can quickly go into that person and try to save him or save him up till the time when the emergency response people come in. That's the first part of it. But at that time, a lot of people just linger on and they look around and try to find what we need to do. So awareness of that particular situation, of someone is having a heart attack, what you need to do is you need to call, someone has to make a decisive action at that time. So as an action plan, one person takes the lead and say, okay, we need to find a person who is first aider and fix this problem and try to revive this person for at least that time when the emergency people come in. The
True.
second person should make a phone call to emergency services and
Hmm.
call them up so that they can come in the meantime.
Hmm.
Or if, in some cases, and especially in the third world countries, a lot of people don't wait till that time. They say, okay, pick up this person, take him to the hospital straight away. So rather than reviving that person, or one person who is trying to revive that person in a heart attack situation, rather than staying with that person and taking him along will save his life.
True.
So that's the I have situation, but in the case of fire, it could be very different. You need to take people out of that building, or people taking people to the safer place. So that's
True.
another situation. So every situation is different and every response is different. But how well prepared we are to see an emergency, that's the critical point.
True.
If we are not prepared to see, so a lot of people go into that panic mode, and then that creates another problem. So if you see there's a person who's having an accident happen, which is
Hmm.
a critical accident happens, some people go into the shock wave, into the shock mode, and they don't know what needs to be done. So that's where the practice comes in. That's why we do a lot of drills. That's why
Yeah.
we have first world countries. That's where the difference is people
Yeah.
are aware and they planned already. They
Hmm.
are prepared for that emergency. You would have done that drill, maybe uh, once a year. It's mandatory in countries like Australia and Canada and
Mhm.
US and Europe, as a part
True.
of their every year compliance. But you do it once, obviously you're grabbing a coffee or something like that happens. You do it twice, you do it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. You would have done it 30 times or maybe more within your buildings, the buildings you work with and all that. You know
Yeah.
exactly where the emergency exits are, because of
True.
you have done it 30 times. So when an actual fire happens, you're already prepared. You know where to go.
True.
You don't need to think at that time, because within that panic state, you don't need to think about so much processes of what needs to be done, because you've done it
True.
many times. You can do it in a flash.
Yes.
That's the difference. The prepare is the difference, because you are prepared for that. You
Yeah.
already know what needs to be done. You know what leads you need to take. In an emergency, like there's a medical emergency happens, if you've done the drill of that, you will do exactly what you need to do. Is you will tell somebody, look, you need to make a phone call right now because we need to save this person. Hey
Hmm.
guys, everybody, anybody in there who got the fire aid first aid license, please come and try to save this person. The first aider will come and save that person and all that. And by the time he's trying to revive that person or trying to save that person, or bringing him out of coma, the emergency or the medical help will come, will eventually come. but those couple of minutes, those 30 seconds, or maybe that
Those are
90
crucial.
seconds, or maybe that
Absolutely.
80
They are
seconds,
very important.
they will save someone's life.
True. You're right.
Now, coming back to the question, he says, what we need to do. So that emergency has already occurred. Everything after that is an outcome of that emergency. It's a post-emergency thing. Sadly, if that person dies, then there will be obviously, the financial impact on his family. There'll be emotional impact on his family and the
Mm,
society. The
yes.
people around him will have that shock in their lives. A lot of people will live with that memory of seeing someone dying,
True.
and that's a very, I would say that's a very deep memory, because the memories of loss, they are embedded in your mind. They
True.
never go away.
Yeah.
You can forget a lot of good memories in your life, but whenever a small incident happens, it will always reflect back to the emergency you have seen in your life. As I
True.
mentioned, my first memory could have been a lot of happy. There's a lot of happy memories. I can recall them too.
Mm, mm,
But that emergency of 10th April 1988, it is stuck in my mind.
yeah.
It is embedded in my mind. So
Yeah.
that reflects back to every single emergency which has occurred in my life. If I
Yes.
have seen someone, dying in front of me, that memory will never go away.
True.
And that's what happens. So the post outcome of emergency is a bigger shock wave among the people who are around that emergency, and that will stick to them.
True. True.
What you
Great.
can do the post emergency, that's another question. But yeah, let's take some more questions in there and we'll talk
Yeah,
about
let's
that.
take some more comments. Thank you so much for that. Sultan Alam is our friend from Bangladesh. Great person, great singer as well. Saying it's a great opportunity for any human who used to work abroad with great honor. He is like an ambassador for his country. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Sadakat Mubin from Islamabad is saying domestic violence number is very huge. Sad part. Absolutely. That's a sad part, unfortunately, in our country and internationally, I would say. Asim Hanif is saying Assalamu alaikum to all. Wa alaikum assalam, Mr. Asif Hanif. Asim Hanif, thank you. Sunil Gorsab is watching from YouTube saying, what about the time when we cannot do anything in an emergency and feel helpless? What does one do in such a situation? Very good question. Interesting one, too.
Okay, I will answer two parts of that. One is I
Yes.
will go back to the Sadakat Mubin's question, where
Okay.
she mentioned that domestic violence is on the increase. The domestic violence has always been a part of society. That's even a sadder part.
Mm-hmm.
That's even more sad part than being reported. What is happening today? You know, a lot of women have got access to technology. A lot of people have got access to technology. They got a lot of access to information, and the change is happening. There would be a lot more cases in the 1900s, in the early 1900s, in the 1910s and 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, up to 2000, but there were not enough reporting being made on these incidents.
Mm.
Now, what is happening? They're actually reported. The number bringing up or down, it does not is it's not depending on the domestic violence in the 2000. You can't say that there was less domestic violence issues in 2000s.
Mm.
There
But they were
was
not reported,
maybe
so we didn't
more
know.
domestic
We
violence
didn't know
issues.
about those. Yeah.
Yes, today we got access to that information, and people are
Mm.
coming out, and they started to realize this is not right. There's
Mm.
something not right with this, right? They started to report that, and as more the reports coming in, that's why the issue has been highlighted. The domestic violence was always existing. It was
Okay.
always present. It
Yeah.
wasn't reported. Today, with the access of technology, it's reported, and that's why people are a little more shocked that how come these numbers are becoming huge and huge, but they are now reported. That's why we are seeing these huge numbers
True.
now, because these numbers are reported now. We can do something about it. First part is to realize. That's what I said. In an emergency, you need to realize, you need to be aware of what you can do. People did not even understand that stigma of domestic violence. They would
True.
take it as a social, you know, kind of injustice. The
Mm.
women would blame themselves at the time. They say, you know, because I'm a woman, that's why, you know, I've been treated that way and all that. But the today's women are empowered, and that empowered woman is not taking that slap from someone. She's
True.
saying, this is not right. This is my right to be honored as a person, as a human, and you
True.
cannot raise your hand on me. You know,
Absolutely.
there's
Absolutely.
more parts. So domestic violence itself is a huge domain, and I don't want to jump into that
It's a
particularly
big
right now
domain. Yes. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's a big domain on its own.
Absolutely.
But now,
Absolutely.
because these numbers are reported, it has become a big issue. And since it's been reported, a lot of people have started working on it. One of my
Mm.
team member, his name is Andrew Stark. He's very big in domestic violence as well. Um, and he has written some papers for domestic violence and the corporate responsibility of the corporations, which needs to come out and, you know, look after and safeguard their staff. And his papers has been used in some of the court judgments. So maybe he's more of an expert on the domestic violence because he looks after all of our personal threat side, from the personal
Mm.
protective security side of evacuation. But that's one part of that. I wanted to address that domestic violence part. Now coming back to Sunil's question, where he says um, there's not enough time, and I would agree to that particular point that sometimes in an emergency you don't have enough time, but in the rescue, particularly in the rescue time, you have time. Like what
Mm.
happened in Lebanon quite recently. You know, that thing was already pumping up. What was happening in the ship that was pumping up already? You still had a couple of minutes.
Mm.
People were still seeing the smoke. They say, if there is smoke, there is fire, right?
Of course.
So there is
Yeah.
something brewing up over there, and that 2 minutes or 3 minutes, or another example I would take, what happened in at 9/11. You know that the twin tower goes down, but before it goes down, there's something happened before that. People were taking photos of that incident and trying
Mm.
to get close to that incident
Mm.
rather than, and this is human nature, right? This is nothing to do with the, it's just human behavior. They were taking photos of that particular tower, and a lot of people would have died, or you know, later at a stage they would have got complications in their breathing and all that because of falling debris. Because as
True.
it fallen down on the ground, a lot of debris, a lot of firefighters actually died.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's a sad loss. You know, a firefighter's loss. I would say a very because what he was trying to do is out of all of genuinity of the heart, they were trying to save the people at the end of the day.
True.
You know,
That's right.
and an emergency response person's one person's death is, you know, the training he has gone through, the response he has done, and the lives he could potentially save. That's a real
Yes.
loss. You know,
Big loss. Yes.
loss for professional is a big loss.
That's right.
So that's the human nature. So if we, I'm not saying that with evacuation we're trying to change human nature, but we are trying to prepare people of what they need to do rather than taking the phones and making the phone videos and all that. Within your handheld device, you can actually raise an alarm. You can tell others, look, there is something happening, there's something brewing up here, we can see there is. So at least get prepared. That
Mm.
1 minute, 60 seconds is a lot of time.
It's a
When
lot
an
of time.
emergency happens,
Exactly.
I will tell you that time goes into that, you know, it exactly the same as it was happening just before your show. You know, you get that 30 seconds timer goes on there, 30, 29, 28, 27.
That's right. Yes.
I tell you that timer becomes, it freezes at every second.
Yes.
That 30
True.
seconds can save someone's life. If we're
Absolutely.
not prepared, eventually we can't.
That's right. That's right. Good. Thank you so much. A few more comments. We have Humayun Khan, our friend from Karachi, is saying Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. Adil Janas Khan saying, MashaAllah, great session. Thank you so much for liking this session, sir. Really appreciate it. Humayun Khan is saying, मैं सफर कर रहा हूँ, sir. Happy travels. Thank you so much. Be safe. Abdullah Faruqi is our friend, a great friend, like a brother from Toronto area. He's saying, Assalamu alaikum. Everyone, wa alaikum assalam. Thank you so much. Abdullah Faruqi and I worked in Kuwait for many years. Thank you so much for hopping on the show. Ali G is saying, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Doing a great job, Rashid Khan. Thank you so much, Ali G. So nice of you. Really appreciate it. Abdullah Faruqi is saying, I think a lot more is required to be done in preventing the emergency violence by the family themselves. I have seen that many times children are not looked after and the incident happens. Absolutely, yeah, that's really important. Would you like to say anything on this comment, Rashid Khan sir?
I think it's all about, if now this is more about domestic violence again. So within a domestic violence, who suffers?
Yeah, he said domestic violence. I mean, yeah.
Yes, correct. So within the domestic violence space, who suffers? First of all, I will take the children out of the equation first. What if in the domestic violence space there is only one person? There is only two people. One is who is the perpetrator of the actual violence, and the other person is the receiving end.
Victim.
It could be any sort of violence. It could be the victim. So domestic violence victim could be, it could be a financial victim. It could be an emotional victim. It could be a physical victim. We only know one part. Everybody believes that physical victim is actually a violence, but there is a lot more domestic violence. So if you go a little deep down, there's emotional violence happens every day.
Emotional
it's
violence
not reported.
There is sex violence in the families too. I mean, lots of people
absolutely. There is a lot more to domestic violence. So let's talk about those two people first. If these two people, this problem is fixed between them, or then you come to the children. The children will have that impact regardless of what happens.
True.
But I'm not bringing the children up in the picture because I wanted to address the two key parties there first. So we need to address what is causing person to happen that way, or to behave that way. That is the first understanding. And if it has happened, there is a line draw there.
True.
That's it. It's a yes or a no. It's a 1 or a 0. If it happens, this person needs to get out of that situation right now. It's emotional, it's financial, it's physical. Any part of that, this person needs to get out.
True.
And because it has happened from the very trusted party, this guy is a trusted party, right? So this guy was a very trusted party to this person. It is very hard for this person who has been excuse me, the victim, to trust anybody else now.
Yeah.
So we need to create a safe space for this person to go into that safe space and open up.
True.
And create another trusted party where this person can open up its heart and try to share his or her feelings with that person.
True.
That's the harder part. Children comes in a very later stage. Children will get impacted regardless of what happens.
True. Great. Thank you so much for shedding light on that. Sadakat Mubin is saying psychological violence is another kind of emergency, sad part of our society. Absolutely. We talked about that. That's really important aspect. Thank you so much. SNQ is from Toronto saying Assalamu alaikum, great show and lots of good info. Thank you so much for hopping on the show, SN. Really appreciate it. Emin Azimi with us saying important topic. Thank you so much, Ms. Emin Azimi. Really appreciate it. Sadak Mubin is saying very well explained. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Great. All right, so we are almost 50 minutes into the show. Is there anything that you wanted to share? I know it's a big topic. We can sit here hours and hours and hours and still won't be able to exhaust the topic to its fullest. However, we have limited time on the show. What else you wanted to share that you haven't shared yet, Mr. Aijaz Khan?
Okay. I will talk a little more about emergency preparedness. How you can be a little more
Yes.
prepared about emergencies.
Give us some
That
hints.
is important for everybody to know.
Yes.
Yes, just a quick techniques I will tell you, and that potentially can save your life. Literally, it might save your life. Uh, you know, a lot of our kitchen fires and all that, they happen all the time. We have seen the cooker bursting up and all that.
Mm.
But we need to be aware of how we can save our lives in that particular incident, how we can smother the fire and all that. So whenever you get a chance, people, when you are introducing anybody to the kitchen, regardless of the gender,
Mm.
you need to show them the safety advices first
Mm.
before introducing someone how to make the dough, how to light up the fire and all that. You need to tell your next generation, you need to find out a way to tell your next generation. First educate yourself and then educate
Mm.
others.
Mm.
Educate yourself in what you can do if anything bad happens. If there's an
True.
oil spill happens, what you need to do. If
Mm.
there's a burn, there's a obviously, every emergency has got its outcomes. So if this burns happens, what you need to do, what sort of first aid you should be reflecting. Have you got access to that first aid box? Have you
Mm.
got access to those quick emergency fixing up things? Have you got access to a fire blanket? It's just very simple. It does not cost you more than if it's, I'm talking in the currency, it costs you less than $1, literally less than $1 to
Wow.
have a fire blanket in your house. It
True.
doesn't cost much, but you need to be aware how to use that. Take the fire blanket up, to smother the fire. Take the oxygen out of that. It can
Yeah,
kill the fire at that time.
that's right.
Making sure that these small measures, you educate yourself first and then educate others.
Absolutely.
This can save your life. You know that you might not have seen fire in your kitchen for last 50 years, and you might not see them for another 50 years. I pray for everybody that they don't come across an emergency. But when it comes across, you should be prepared.
Mm.
That's a simple method I have to show you. Earthquakes happen, once in someone's life. What you need to do, you need to be aware what you should do. Where is your door? You should be able to access your door, when it's actually started to happen. What you need to
True.
do, the elderly people, whenever it used to occur, the elderly people used to say, go and stay with the door, stay in the door, so that the doors usually stays and holds for longer as compared to the building, right? So it's not true for every building, honestly speaking. You
That's
need
right.
to know what collapses in your building first.
Yeah.
Maybe the door collapses first before anything happens.
Never
So the
know.
best part is evacuate, go out on the street, stay in the street till because the structure can fall and all that. You don't know how good structures we have, right? So how old your building is and all that. So you should be aware. Just make sure that you just not educate yourself what needs to be done in an earthquake, what needs to be done in a flood, what needs to be done in electrical failure and all that, what needs to be done in fire. Educate yourself.
True.
There's a lot of material online, there's a lot of preparedness videos. I usually deliver a lot of preparedness videos as well. So go seek the content, find the content which is relevant to you, and save your life and
Great.
save someone's life.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Few more comments we have here. Aman Azimi is saying important topic. Yes, it is. And thank you so much for hopping on the show. I think you joined late, Ms. Aman Azimi, but you can go back and there will be recording available on YouTube as well as on Facebook. So you can watch that later on and get awareness about the topic. Thank you so much. So Daga Mubin is saying very well explained. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Sunil Gaur is saying, which is the worst form of emergency? A natural calamity, a medical emergency, a violence between husband and wife, etc. So, what? How would you categorize? Which is the topmost, worst one?
Okay, everything has got its
Place.
uh, place. You can't categorize and you can't give them a number of number one, number two, number three.
Okay.
It all depends on your situation. Let's say
Situation.
if
Yes.
if you live in Haiti, where an earthquake happens or the flood comes every year, what is more important to you right there at that time?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot more trickle down effect of emergencies as well. Um, so if an emergency happens in an area and people are not socially educated of what needs to be done
True.
and how they can fix their lives, they will tend to move on a different path of life. That
Right.
happens because of socio-economic state of that particular area will drop
Yes.
after an emergency. So let's say people lose their loved ones, people have that sense of not belonging to anybody because they have lost their loved ones. They will tend to move on a different path in life. They can
Hmm.
become the rescuers, or they will become uh, a bad guy in the society pretty quickly. That can happen
True.
because the socioeconomic state. This person has lost everything in his life, his loved ones, his financials. Financial comes with the very least, but from the emotional side of this person is completely drained,
True.
right? He has lost everything which he has earned in his life. So the socioeconomic state is another part, but his emotional state is another part. So he will become a rescuer and he will say, okay, I will find path, or I will find um, solace in helping others, or he will say, life has ended for me, why should I
Why
bother
should I be
caring
worried
about
about?
others?
I know.
Correct.
That's
So
a sad part.
people can deviate because in that emotional he's in a very volatile state. Now we're all talking about the post emergency problems,
Right.
but I'm more on the preparedness side, I'm more on the awareness side, I'm more on the planning side of it. If you plan, act, you might survive. You might not have to come to that particular point which we are just discussing right now, but if it happens, then obviously people react very differently. That's one
True.
part of it, but it all depends of your state of life.
Hmm.
Maybe a lot of people who are in the early stages of their life, in their emotional stages of their life, they respect and expect a lot more from their partners. Then
True.
domestic violence is definitely an issue. It's just not impacting them, it's impacting their children. So
Yep.
obviously for a woman, not just for a woman, for a man as well, the domestic violence is a huge issue. uh, so that's another part of it. But the natural emergencies, when they occur, they take over every other emergency in your life. They will
They do.
become the number one because that's a human nature. If someone wants to experience that, there was a story of someone was a little more ungrateful. So they both were going on a boat. The person threw him out of the boat into the
Hmm.
water. This person was crying for his life. He says, you were just complaining about everything in life, so I
Hmm.
just tried to release you from life.
Hmm.
And he says, no, I actually wanted to live. So the rescue part of human, the life-saving element of the human becomes very dominant when an emergency occurs.
True.
People will try to save their lives first. They act quite selfishly as well. A lot of people
Hmm.
do.
Yeah.
You will see a different part of someone's inner human behavior. Some people, you might not even recognize them as in the hierarchy and all that, but in emergency they might become the heroes. There is a hero
True.
inside them. That emergency has triggered that heroism in that person, and the person has come
Absolutely.
out and he started to save lives. He started to act in a very different way, in a very dominant way of saving someone. So you never know what sort of person is inside a person, unless
That's
an
right.
emergency, or unless an, an a different sort of uh,
Incident
incident
happens.
happens in your life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I come across a lot of cancer rescue people and all that, the who have the cancer survivors and all that. Some of them become a lot more they become a lot more volatile because if they have seen death from a very close perspective. Some of them come up very strong, and that's this they it was already a strength in them, but you never knew unless they come across a bigger than life problem, and then it triggered the hero within them. And then, these cancer
You're
survivors,
talking to one of them
I
here
have
today.
seen stories. Sorry.
I said you're talking to one of them today.
Yeah. Look at you. Some people become heroes. Then I have seen a lot of people who go across these life-changing events. There's a different person comes out of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're right. Thank you so much for that. A few more comments, and then we'll head to the segment UNQ and saying Sadakat Mubin from Islamabad saying must play UNQ, please. Yes, absolutely. We will definitely do that. Eman Azimi saying educate yourself. Absolutely. We have to educate ourselves. Thank you so much. Eman Azimi saying then educate others. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Mia Wahid Kamar is with us saying, great show. Thank you so much, Mia Saab. We have seen you after such a long time. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for hopping. Sadaka Nobin is saying, how can we fight stress in emergency situations? Because my nerves just stuck nowhere. I, I lost decision power. Absolutely, that happens in the emergency. If the emergency strikes, you lose the decision-making power, and that's not only to you; it happens to lots of people. Sadaka Nobin. So, what would you say, Mr. Rashid Khan, about this comment?
Seek advice.
Seek advice.
Seek advice. Seek
Yes.
advice. Seek counseling. And there's a lot of counseling available.
Mm,
We used to see elders used to, whenever someone goes through a trauma or something like that, the elders used to jump in and they would share their life experiences and they try to bring that person out of trauma. If
yes.
someone loses his loved ones and all that, that used to be the part of the elders in the society or elders in the family. They used to
True.
come and give that. uh, I would say, because now we are living in a very different kind of society. uh, uh, Maybe it's the job of the government as well to bring those sectors up,
Mm,
to involve or enhance those side values which have been overlooked for decades, especially
true.
in the countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, where
True.
a lot of people don't understand that part of that emotional side of it. So the
Yes.
counseling is a very, very important. You would have seen, you would have gone through the counseling and rehabilitation and all that. So
Absolutely.
that is very, very important. If you don't understand something, don't simply Google and try to find out answers. Maybe find the answer from the right person who is in the right
Yes.
domain. Maybe
Exactly.
find the answer from the expert. The expert would know, and he can
True.
tell or she can tell you what you need to do at that time and how you
True.
can manage your stress for future emergencies. Obviously, in that emergency, it has already happened. It has already embedded in your mind. It will remain there forever. But to focus on something else in the life, like if someone has lost something, maybe focus on the things you have lost, maybe focus on the brighter side. But only counseling people can tell you that. They will try
True.
to find out what's the brighter side of your life is, and then they will try to make you focus on those brighter side of things, and that
Right.
will change your life. So
Awesome.
seek advice and seek from the professionals.
Great. Great answer. Thank you so much. Sunil Gaur from YouTube is saying, fantastic program. Thank you so much for your comment. Only two things make it fantastic, our guests and all of you viewers. So thank you so much. UNQ, yes, absolutely. There will be UNQ, so don't you worry. So that is saying Aijaz Qureshi Sahab, also a cancer survivor, mashallah. Alhamdulillah ji, thank you so much. बहुत शुक्रिया आपका. Sunil Gaur saying, time people become Superman in an emergency. Yes, timid people, definitely they become Superman. Thank you so much. Fantastic program. Thank you so much once again. Really appreciate it. Great. So without further ado, let's head to the segment which is called U and Q for Qureshi. So couple of things we do in this show. We ask you about your three habits, and then I'm going to ask you two multiple choice questions, and then there will be a rapid fire. I'll give you a word, and whatever comes to your mind, uncensored. You're going to respond back to that word.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm kind of surprised by, now should I say that I'm going into an emergency state as well, or
Emergency
what
preparedness.
exactly?
Yes, exactly. You are actually, but it's on a lighter note, so which is good.
That's all right. No good. No.
Awesome. So, would you like to share your three habits with us?
I read books, and I read a
Great.
lot of books.
Mm,
Um, I watch documentaries as well sometimes, and the most common habit I have nowadays is spend time with my twins.
awesome. Awesome. That's great. Great habit. Thank you so much for sharing that. What kind of books you read? You read fiction or technology journals?
No, no, I read almost everything. Just
Almost
not
everything.
technology, because technology can be very boring as well. So I read
Yes.
fiction. Within the non-fiction, I read a lot of stuff.
Good.
Um, I read uh, IT journals, obviously, this is part of
Oh,
me, and I
yeah.
read a lot about emergency. I read
Emergency
a lot about
preparedness.
emergency management and the journals because I'm part of SFPE, which
True.
is the
True.
Fire Prevention Engineers Council. So I read a lot of white papers and all that because I need to be abreast with the recent
With the
technologies
knowledge.
and how we
Yes.
deal with emergencies. Um, what else I read? I I read almost everything. I could probably show you some of my collection is just sitting out there.
Yeah, sure. Would love to see those
Yeah.
momentarily. All right. So, how familiar you are with the Pakistan film industry and television industry?
Um, my wife watches some of the dramas because we are in the COVID, lockdown mode. So I watched few dramas lately. Yes, I have.
You have. Okay, good. That's good. That's good.
I have. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
a Pakistani living in Australia abroad, I'm not sure. Because if you were in Pakistan, I wouldn't ask you that question. But since you are in Australia, I had to ask that question. All right, because my next two questions, which are multiple choice questions in a part of UNQ, they are based on television and film industry. So
Okay.
you are selected as a hero in a Pakistani movie, a Pakistani film that's being made, and now you are given a choice to pick up a heroine. Of course, you cannot pick your wife to be a heroine in that movie. I'll give you five names. You have to pick one of those. The first name is
Okay. I hope
Sanam
I know
Baloch.
all of them. Actually, I haven't watched that many movies lately. You know, but
Okay. Well, let's see
I might
if
pick one the one
if
I
any
know.
name strikes in your mind. So let's see.
Okay.
Sanam Baloch, Mavra, Mahira Khan, Saba Kamar, or Mehwish Hayat Khan. Any
I
name.
would go with Sabah Kamar.
Saba Kamar.
Sabah
Great.
Kamar. I,
Great.
I I think she's a fantastic actress.
She is fabulous actor, no doubt about that. Thank you so much. Next question is: you are still the hero in that movie. You are given a chance to pick your side hero. I'll give you five names. You can pick only one from them. Fawad Khan, Hamza Ali Abbasi, Ahsan Khan, Imran Abbas, or Faisal Qureshi.
I think Fawad Khan.
Fawad Khan. Okay, great. The actor and the singer as well. So thank you so much. Awesome. Friends, your comments I'm going to take after this segment because we need some continuity in this segment. All right, let's hit the rapid fire. The first word is home.
Uh, Sanity.
Sanity. Absolutely. Peace of mind. That's good. Tea.
Love.
Love. Air.
Breathe.
Breathe. Horse.
Positive.
Positive. Mountain.
Climb.
Climb. Biryani.
Love.
Love again. Great.
A
Flower.
Pakistani na biryani. It's
Absolutely. Pakistani and biryani, there is a knee in there, so definitely something similar, yes. Flower.
Lily.
Lily. That's good. Um, Spoon. Chamcha.
Mm. It doesn't come to anything. It's just
Anything
maybe
doesn't
food.
come to your mind. Okay.
Yeah,
Friend.
it's food. Faraz.
For us. Good.
Yes.
Neighbor. Person.
Padosan. Actually, kind of literally, I actually forgotten her name. She was an elderly woman right in our neighborhood, and whenever I think of a neighbor, I don't know, for some reason I always think of her.
Okay.
Uh, uh, she was Mrs. Butt, but I forget kind of her name. But a lot of people used to call her Mrs. Butt.
Mrs. Butt. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Next word is love.
Kamal.
Come on. Ullu. Owl.
Uh, hmm. Actually, I need to think about that. It's in a perspective way that I think
It,
intelligent.
it doesn't matter. Whatever first comes to
Yeah,
your mind, you have to
yeah.
say it out loud. Exactly.
Intelligent.
Intelligent. Okay, good. Success.
Purpose.
Purpose. Story.
Ali Baba Chalis Shore.
Alibaba Chalice, sure. That's a famous story. Great. Donkey.
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh,
No,
that's good.
I think there was a symbol he was representing, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. Um, Breathe, that breath that we breathe.
Breath. My garden.
Awesome. Samla, the fair complexion.
Samla.
Yeah, fair complexion like me.
Samla. Because now
Uh,
I'm thinking of perspective wise, or should I mention a personality? You think?
yeah,
That's
it's okay. It doesn't matter. You can say anything. You're allowed to say anything.
Samla me. Yeah, Samla
Sam,
is me. Like I'm Samla.
Samla means a fair complexion, not
Yeah,
white, not brown
not
or black.
Vitish.
Yeah, wheatish. Yes,
I think me. Me.
me.
I'm
Okay. All
quite
right.
Samla.
All right. Good. Pen, kalam,
Ilm.
ilm. Saas, mother-in-law,
Love.
love. Peace, sukoon,
Yeah. My mother-in-law was one of the best person I have ever met in my life. She
mashallah.
passed away a couple of
Inna
years
lillahi
ago,
wa inna
but
ilaihi raji'un.
yeah.
Peace,
Home.
home. Soul, ruh,
Books.
books. Wow. Cleverness, chalaki.
I will still consider it as intellect, a bit more
Intellect.
intellect, I would say.
Okay. All right. Sanjeedgi, seriousness,
Sanjeet ki, a novel.
a novel. Driver,
Uh, I think of my own driver sometimes, but yeah, Zahir.
Zahir. Um, Friendship, dosti,
Trust.
trust. Leader,
Imran Khan.
boss,
Boss. Uh, she was not okay. The boss, in the perspective of boss, she was not a boss, but I used to call her the boss.
Okay.
My previous boss, who was Joe Papantanio, I used to call her the boss.
All right.
So
Good.
whenever someone says the boss, we always understood that we were talking about the Joe Papantanio.
Awesome. Great. I'll give you a tip as well, Rashid Khan Sahab. In married life, if wife says something, and if you come back and say yes, boss, your life will be just pleasant, just pleasant. Great.
We had
Next,
quite a interesting relationship within us as well. Obviously she's the boss, but yeah.
Mashallah. That's great. Next word is black.
Jet black.
That's it. Nihari.
Mohammadi Nihari.
That's it, exactly. Time.
Precious life.
That's good. Last two words are,
I always,
yeah.
There's something about time. So sorry to stop you there.
No, it's okay.
Whenever someone talks about the time, I will say, if I have given you my time, I have given you part of my life, because
Absolutely.
the time is a segment of life. So
that's it.
If I have to live 65 years, which you can count in seconds or times, and you can make the calculation according to whatever, the 60 minutes I have given to someone, or 100 minutes I have given someone, that was part of my life which I had to that person. So
Absolutely.
That's why I say time is life.
No, thank you so much for giving me 1 hour and 20 minutes of your life.
Thank you. No, it's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last two words are, one of them is dil, heart.
I would say my kids.
Twins, mashallah. And the last word is Pakistan.
Love.
Great. So that was UNQ. I hope you enjoyed it. Lots of people enjoy it. I do too. So thank you so much for playing that with us. And you have been very candid and open. Thank you so much. We have lots and lots comments here. And let's see. Sunil Gaurav said, fantastic program. Thank you so much. Rizwan Muhammad is with us saying, great show, Rashid Khan, and smiling as well. Thank you so much. Sohail Asghar is with us saying, Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam, Sohail sir. Thank you so much for hopping on the show. Sadaq Mubini is saying, perfect answers. Sabah Kamar, great actress. Absolutely, she is. Thank you so much. By the way, she is the winner of my show. I've been asking these questions for a very long time, and for many years actually. And she is the winner. She is, I think, 95 or 96% times in these years, people have picked Sabah Kamar. So that's really amazing. Thank you. Aman Azimi is saying Pakistani versus biryani. Pakistani versus biryani. Yes, absolutely. There is a knee in that too. Sadaq Mubin is saying after biryani discussion, he is going to order Bobby to make it. Bobby को मुसीबत में डाल दिया.
You would believe it or not. Then would you believe it or not that I had, because it's 4:22 a.m. we had biryani for dinner.
Really? Oh my goodness.
I ordered from, yeah. There is a restaurant not too far from our place. The name of the restaurant is Koila. So these guys make very nice biryani, and so I always call them. The guy who makes the biryani is Mujahid. So I say, Mujahid, can you make biryani for me? And he says, okay, Rashid bhai, whenever you are coming over, and then you will make it prepared. So
awesome.
I always go and pick it up from there. And because Kamal, my wife runs a hair salon, so she was coming late from work, so I ordered already biryani, and we had biryani together.
Oh, wow.
Here you go.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Paralsan neighbor is CCTV. Yes, absolutely. Sadaqat Mubin, that's true. That's Pakistani neighbor, by the way. And sometimes outside as well. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. Sunil Gauri is saying, wonderful program, great guest, Rashid ji, and great boss, Jasab. I'm not a boss, sir. Thank you so much for liking the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Sadaq Naveen is saying, I listened about Mohammadi Nihari. they were making with donkey's meat. I don't know reality. Oh my goodness. Uh, Mohammadi, I have eaten at Mohammadi Nihari as well in Lahore, so I don't know. What can I say? Thank you. Sunil Gaur is saying,
Mohammadi Nihari, I know, I remember one Mohammadi Nihari was in Kartarpura. So
Kartar.
where we lived in Rawalpindi, very close
Yeah.
by is the next area was Kartarpura, and there was
Wow.
Mohammadi Nihari, and there was another guy, uh, Kala Khan Nihari. So we used
Wow.
to eat either from Kala Khan or from the Mohammadi Nihari. It depends. Kala Khan used to finish very early in the morning, so we have to go. We used to go there every Friday morning, like really early morning, to grab the Kala Khan Nihari because, and used
Wow.
to go cricket after that.
Oh,
So we
wow.
used to pick up the Nihari and then we used to go and play cricket. And then
Cricket.
all of the team members used to sit down and enjoy the Kala Khan Nihari or Mamdi Nihari. It depends. If
Wow.
Kala Khan's finished, then we go to Mamdi's.
Wow. That's good. That's good. Sunil Gaur is saying, please get Myra Khan on your program. Great actress. Gee, I'm not connected with Myra Khan. I wish I was. But thank you so much for suggestion. I really appreciate it. Who knows? Someday, you never know, right? Great. So, Raisab has been, I'm sorry for taking so much overtime out of the time that we agreed to, but thank you so much. You have been an amazing guest. What would be your final message about today's topic and the show?
I think it's a great show, especially from the awareness perspective. It's very important for everybody to understand not just the emergency issues, but the issue around them. Because if we don't understand, they go unreported or underreported, and the more awareness we can spread for the people to, uh, learn their rights of living, the more better world we will live in. Because it means we are not just teaching ourselves the rights to live; we are telling others about the rights of our living being. And the more people are aware of it, they will start respecting those rights, and that is very, very important for, I think, for a civilization to grow, for the humans to grow in a bigger way. On the topic emergency management, yes, it's a deep topic. There is a lot more needs to be done worldwide, and that's why we are taking evacuation to the global heights. We are in consultation with some of the governments in the world now, where we are trying to get to their consulting models and look into their existing emergency management frameworks and all that, and trying to improve that. And by that, if we can save one life, which is, the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saying that if you save someone's life, only one life, you save humanity. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to
Absolutely.
save one life at a time, and that's our main purpose as of launching evacuation, and that has become a purpose of my soul life. um, from the message to everybody is always be prepared, understand, try to read about emergencies, because they could be only once in your life, but they can change the dynamics of your life forever. Try to understand emergencies, try to get yourself aware, try to tell others about that, make a plan. Anything can happen. Always have a plan, and when it happens, act. And if you act, you will survive.
That's it.
So for your survival and for the survival of your loved ones or the people around you, you need to have all those 3 or 4 categories fixed first. Understand, make yourself aware, plan, and act to
Yeah,
survive.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
hopefully, out of this, anybody who gets the message, they can do one thing at a time and help themselves to help others. It will be great. The purpose is
Absolutely.
fulfilled.
Absolutely. And as they say, no plan is planned to fail. So don't do that. Do plan.
Absolutely.
Uh, Thank you so much for that. A few more comments and then we'll close the show. Sunil Gauri saying time is life. Rashidji, appreciate that. Thank you so much. Absolutely, time is life. Absolutely. And thank you so much, everyone who has been on this show, for giving me your life. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Ayman Azimi is saying thank you, Jasab and Rashid. Thank you so much, Ayman Azimi. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. She's my course mate. We are doing a course, Unstoppable by Fahad Khan. So thank you so much for hopping on the show and commenting. All right. To conclude, on behalf of Dreams Television, Rashid Khan Sahab, myself, my entire team who helps me run this show, the Aijaz Qureshi Show, all those viewers who have watched us live on our channel on YouTube and commented and asked questions, all those friends who have watched us live on our Facebook page and who will be watching later on according to their time zones on different social media channels. Thank you so much for hopping on the show and sharing your wonderful knowledge and making us prepare for the emergencies to happen. Thank you so much. Has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, friends, that's it for today's show. I hope you liked it. We had great Rashid Khan all the way from Melbourne, Australia, and he gave us so much knowledge about the emergency preparedness. I'm sure that you're going to take away all those 4 points that he mentioned, and I'm going to act upon those as well. Be prepared for all the calamities and emergencies to happen, and if we are prepared, we can face them bravely. Thank you so much for watching the show. This is time to say goodbye, and until next time with another amazing guest, this is your host and host Aijaz Qureshi saying goodbye. Allah Hafiz. Take care for yourself and people around you. Take care.